Well, thank you. I'm not that good. Sit down. Thank you, Maria. And I am so honored to be here tonight. I love WOLA, and I am. This is a real thrill for me, and I'm grateful to all of you for being here tonight to support WOLA. This is important. It's important that you're here. It's important that you support this incredible organization. I want to thank, when I walked in here today, a number of people came up to me and gave me hugs and said, you know, how is it in Congress and working with the administration? And I said to everybody the same thing. I said, I'm living the dream. And I said, nightmares are dreams too. You know, I went to the bar to get a glass of wine, and get some wine. And the bartender said to me, "Would you like a glass of wine?" And I'm thinking about my day and about all this going on, and I paused, and the bartender said, "You okay?" I said, I'll have. What I wanted to say is I want a bottle of wine and an IV to get through this. But these are very, very difficult times, and that's an understatement. You all know that. And I think most of us are like-minded in this room, and if we're not, then too bad. But I am horrified. I am disappointed. I am scared, and I am embarrassed by the man who is in the White House. And he is. He not only is temperamentally unfit to serve as President of the United States, he has turned his back on the issue of human rights, not just in Latin America, but around the world. And I think, as a United States Congressman and as a United States citizen, that if this country stands for anything, we ought to stand out loud and foursquare for human rights. And look, we don't have a perfect record on human rights. So we have made terrible mistakes. But I've always felt that we've acknowledged those mistakes, that we always try to be better. And when I've traveled, especially on WOLA delegations in Latin America, people, especially human rights defenders, who are counting on us to be their voice, to be their advocates, I think they're disappointed about what they're hearing coming out of Washington. And that is why WOLA is so incredibly important. You know, I have been involved with WOLA ever since I was an aide to Congressman Moakley in the early 80s. WOLA taught me about Chile. WOLA brought me to El Salvador, to Guatemala, to the U.S.-Mexico border, to Cuba, to Ecuador, to Colombia, to Honduras. And WOLA has educated me in a gazillion briefings that they have done on the Hill and a gazillion office visits that various people in this audience have come to try to explain to me what the realities were in particular parts of the world. But especially now, and I want people to appreciate this fact, especially now when there is so much garbage that is coming out of Washington, and when there's so much misinformation, when we have a president who wakes up every day and tries to figure out, how can I create an enemy today? It is important that WOLA is here, and that it is strong, and that it is vibrant, and that it has the capacity to be able to even broaden its reach. And when I think of WOLA, I think of not only an organization that stands for human rights and that stands for human dignity, but today in particular, with what's going on in Washington, WOLA is even more valuable because it stands for truth. And, you know, I am... You know, I never, ever, ever question anything that comes out of WOLA. Because I know from years of experience that the people who are part of WOLA listen to all sides. And their positions when it comes to human rights and peace and dignity is not based on a particular preconceived notion. It's based on the truth. And I've seen that. And there are very few organizations, very few entities today in Washington, in this country, that you can say that about. And so for all of you who have been supporting WOLA over the years, understand that this is something special. This is something unique. And it deserves your support. And, you know, yes, it doesn't get any money from the U.S. government, thank God, because if it did, you know, you'd have to answer all those stupid questions from crazy congressmen in Washington. But the reason why I value WOLA right now is because, you know, it is easy to whip people up into a frenzy. We see this happening all the time, right? It's easy to get people to be against immigrants. It's easy to get people, especially members of Congress, you know, to be frightened of Cuba, to, you know, to say, oh, I can't support the Colombia peace agreement because it was negotiated in Havana. Or I don't like the FARC, so I don't believe that we should ever have a negotiation with them. I mean, you know how the game gets played here. I mean, somebody, picks up an issue and they demagogue it to death, and then you get members of Congress who don't know all the information, who get nervous, who either don't want to talk about it or who take the wrong position. And WOLA is like the only thing there to kind of set the record straight, to say before you jump off that cliff, before you say something really stupid, let us tell you what the truth is. You know, let us try to convince you that maybe there's a different way. I learned about the children that were coming into the United States from Honduras and El Salvador on a WOLA trip. I went to the border with WOLA. And I met these young children, some of them so young that they still needed diapers. Remember, the Border Patrol said to me that, that they were taking collections up to basically provide diapers for some of these young kids that were so young. And, and in Washington, we were talking about all these gang members and all these criminals coming over the border. We went to the border and we saw young children, whose parents spent every penny they had to pay a smuggler to take their kids to hopefully a safer place in the United States. That trip taught me a lot. It gave me the ability to go back and speak with authority to some of my colleagues who had a different view. So this is incredibly important.